you've just ran your second ever marathon,
Manchester Marathon.
Manchester Marathon. How did you feel about your running, marathon running specifically, before you started working with me?
Um, I felt probably confident in my ability to run far and like get through a marathon, like either walking, running, but I didn't feel confident in my ability to one, do sub 4 and two, be able to run the entire time and feel good about doing it. Like I fully expected to get to like this 20-mile, 18-mile like wall that everyone talks about and feel horrible. And then just try and get through like the last hour or so. I didn't think it'd be possible to feel like comfortable running the entire thing.
What were you thinking about in terms of whether to do the coaching or not?
I think it was that I enjoy doing lots of forms of exercise. So I like yoga, I like going to the gym, I like swimming, just like doing a lot of different things. And I think a lot of programs were giving like 3 or 4 runs a week. And I remember coming to you being like, I can't do that. Like that's not something I want to do. And it's not something I have time to do. Like my working day is 8 till 6. So I was like, I don't have time to do that consistently. And I kind of came to you and I was like, look, I can do a day in the week and then like a long run on the weekend. And that's something I can feasibly fit in around my like lifestyle.
Mhm.
And I also just didn't want to like fall out of love with running. I didn't want it to just become like a task of just like, oh, I need to go run today.
Yeah.
And then I'd obviously worked with you pre-Christmas doing like the 10K like program. I managed to get a PB doing that. And then all the like I'd done one program before and I just ended up injured. Like the pacing was completely off. And yeah, and it was just the flexibility. Like I could reach out to you and be like, look, actually this week my knee's quite sore. I don't think I should run this week.
Yeah.
And you just sit back and yeah, and just kind of keep in touch and be like, how are things? Like, what do you need? And I could equally message you being like, you program this week, but actually I'm away for a long weekend this weekend. That's not going to work. I still want to like get the benefits, but I want it to still work around me kind of thing.
What was it that made the difference for you then in terms of having an online program, by the sounds of it, versus
Yeah.
having someone to actually talk to?
Obviously you've got a lot more knowledge around how to formulate a program and like what is necessary in the lead up to a marathon, how far you need to be running and like adequate rest times, etc. So I think just being able to come to you and be like, actually, this run felt really good, or this run didn't feel great, and why it felt like that, and just having someone to reach out to, and it being like obviously personalized to you,
Mhm.
and being able to modify it as you go. Like I said,
Yeah.
either being actually this week I don't feel great, or I don't feel 100%, and you being like, cool, actually just scale it back then and do this.
Yeah.
Whereas just like progressing rather than me just going on the app or an app and being like, okay, well, I feel dreadful. I'm not just going to run that week. Or I'm not going to do this. And just gives you a bit more like direction.
When you started coaching with me, like, how did you feel when we first started?
Good. It gives you accountability as well, doesn't it? So like it makes you like, God, I went out in some pretty dire weather around Christmas time. And yeah, it just gives you that accountability to be like, come on, you can do this. Like, just get up, go.
Are you
You'll feel
saying that you wouldn't have gone for those runs had there not
yeah,
been
like I
someone?
probably would, but I probably would have just been like, you know what, I might run a few Ks less or and I like that on the programming as well, particularly for the marathon one, it was kind of like run between 22 and 24K. So like if I did say run 22 and a half or 23, I'd always be like, oh, maybe I should run 24. Or but you never felt like that you'd done yourself a disservice if that kind of makes sense. You'd be like, no, it says 22 to 24. I've done 23, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Like whereas I think, yeah, say if I'd gone out and I was like, oh, the weather's awful, I'd be like, I'll just do a 10K. It'll be fine, kind of thing. And then, yeah, like there was one run just before, I think it was like only like an 8K, like in the taper week or whatever. And Greg was like, are you going to go run today? And I was like, I will just be so annoyed at myself if I don't run this sub 4 and I've missed this one run. I will just be like, ah.
If
So yeah,
only I'd, yeah,
yeah. And
wicked.
you just get to a certain point in the program where you're like, I followed it to a T the entire way. I might as well now just see this through and like
Hmm.
do myself justice.
For you, Zoe, what was your best result?
Mm, that I managed to get a sub 4 hour marathon and enjoy it. It's the satisfaction of being like, like I said, after London, I enjoyed it and thought that was really good and cool. I probably won't ever do a marathon again. And then afterwards, I was kind of like, no, I feel like my business isn't done with it. Like, I feel like there's more I can do there. Whereas, like, when you finish Manchester, they're like 2025 entries now open. And I was like, no, actually, like, I'm good.
Good, yeah.
I'm happy with how I've done, and I don't feel that like, oh, I've got something else to prove. Like, I felt really like satisfied. I would say, yeah, satisfied.
How much more confident did you feel in yourself when you're running compared to when you're running London?
I just knew, because I knew I'd done 30Ks, so I knew I could get to halfway and be fine. And I remember saying to the girls running alongside, I was like, halfway now, like, we just got to do the same again. And saw Greg, and he was like, you're doing really well. And then I got to 30Ks, and I remember saying at Greg, about 20 miles probably, actually, being like, I feel really good. And he was like, just keep going then, just keep going as you are. And I was like, oh, this is so nice. And I kept thinking when I saw him at the same point during London, ugh, I was like an hour to go, like I could have burst into tears.
Oh,
You get to 30K and you're like, I've got 12 kilometers to go. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've got 8 miles. That's far. That's not like a short amount of distance. And
yeah,
I was like, keep going, just head down. And at 38K, when everyone around you starts to walk, I was like, no, no, just keep going, just keep moving forward.
yeah.
And do math in my head, like, okay, you can even slow down a bit and you'll still do sub 4. Like, that was a nice feeling of just like, you're probably going to do this unless something drastic happens, you're probably going to finish sub 4.
Wow. So you at 38K, yeah, exactly as you say, when a lot of people are flagging and they're
Yeah.
walking and they're cramping up and they're trying to stretch
Yeah.
up the
See
side of the road,
people stretching.
right? Like you were powering through and you were moving quicker than them. If someone else was considering coaching with me and running a marathon
Mm.
and getting my help, one, would you recommend them to me, or one, would you recommend me to them even? And
Yeah.
two, what would you say?
Yes, I would. And I'd just say it's like you're a very approachable person, if that makes sense. So like, I don't know, I came to you and said, cool, I've run a 4:26 marathon. I want to run a sub 4. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, let's give it a try. And there was never like, you're gonna run sub 4, you're gonna run sub 4. It was like, go out there. I've given you the tools to do it. You've done the program, and just see what happens on the day. And I know if I'd messaged you afterwards being like, oh, I ran a 4:10, you'd be like, that's still amazing. That's still great. Like, that's, you wouldn't have ever been like, oh, well, next time, this. Like, I don't know. The expectation was there, but no, not pressure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's always like, yeah, like I said, if I ever said, oh God, I can't do this one this week, it wasn't like, well, that's that. It was like, okay, cool, what can you do? And then we'll work around that. And that was just a big thing for me, just saying to you, this is what I can do. And you respecting that and being like, cool, I can work around that then, and this is what we can achieve, rather than you just being like, no, well, we can't.
This way or the highway kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Oh, that's why I'd recommend it, because I'd just be like, just having a bit more of a sensible approach to it, and just it not taking over your lifestyle. And that's why I'd recommend it, because it just worked around me. Didn't get injured, got to the start line healthy and well, ran a sub 4, and don't feel like I had to give up anything major in my life to do it.